Donald J. Trump has always been there for America and has always put America first, no matter what.
Larry, the country is losing $200 billion a year. $200 billion. This country cannot continue to lose $200 billion. Japan is one of the wealthiest machines ever created. Saudi Arabia, and it's not, hey, let me tell you, I'm a big beneficiary of Japan. They buy my apartments in spades. They're fine people, but they're laughing to themselves as to what's happening over here. We're not kidding ourselves. They're laughing to themselves, Larry, as to what's happening in this country.
And all Kamala Harris cares about is illegal immigrants. She doesn't care about us. She cares about illegal immigrants more than the U.S. citizens. Look at the damage she has done to our country.
I'm very familiar with Kamala Harris as the Senator and Attorney General in California, and I can tell you that the words that she has often spoken when it comes to defunding the police and ICE kin to the KKK is demoralizing to law enforcement and those trying to protect our country and protect victims. Thousands of people coming through a day where I visited and I saw people from Yemen, China. A friend of mine, Jody Jones, his brother was shot and killed at an AM/PM mini-mart where an illegal immigrant who had been deported 3 times over found his way back into the United States, attempted a robbery, and shot and killed a man. We're starting to see is an influx of Mandarin, or those from China. We're unraveling a human trafficking case of over 40 women who are involved in sexual prostitution up and down the state of California, who have found their way across the border and are here illegally, and that case is ongoing.
Our country is being invaded. This is a war.
Drugs are killing tens of thousands of Americans every year. Every shipment of fentanyl is a ticking time bomb. Every life lost to fentanyl is a tragedy.
Every one of those pills is an unregulated pharmaceutical that can stuff out your life. You're playing Russian roulette.
As Mexican cartels flood the country with illegal painkillers.
The Sinaloa cartel supplies most of the fentanyl in the U.S. and is largely responsible for more than 100,000 overdose deaths in 2021 alone.
Kamala Harris is not the woman you think she is. Harris hid evidence that could have saved many innocent death row inmates because she thought of them as cheap labor. Kamala Harris forced inmates to be there longer than they needed to. She did this for cheap labor from inmates and used them for money. She also hid many evidence that could have saved many innocent inmates. She also let gangs who were guilty and who did terrible crimes go out of jail free. Kamala Harris doesn't even know half of our country's issues. She was asked about many large problems and asked how they would fix them. And this is what she said.
And I think the first part of this issue that should be articulated is AI is kind of a fancy thing. First of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if you think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
Record inflation, the worst in 30 years, way beyond expectations. OPEC didn't increase oil production. Can you tell us a little bit about how you would prevent the new spending and your Build Back Better agenda from exacerbating the problem? And also, what else are you going to do to fix this problem with inflation?
All right, thank you. Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up, and families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
Kamala Harris doesn't know a damn thing about what's going on in our country. She doesn't want to change a single thing that has happened these past 4 years.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
America, I have a message for you. If we allow Borders R. Harris to win this election, every city, every community in this great country is going to go to hell. The untold millions of people, unvetted, who she has allowed into this country that are committing murders, rapes, robberies, burglaries, and every other crime will continue to put our country in peril. Only one man can fix that. That is Donald J. Trump. He has always stood with the men and women who protect this border, who put their lives on the line for the country. A man who knows about putting his life on the line for what is right. This November, we have a choice to make. Continue the chaos, allow the criminal cartels to control the border, to allow drugs and fentanyl across our country, or put an end to it once and for all. On behalf of the 16,000 men and women represented by the National Border Patrol Council, we strongly support and endorse Donald J. Trump for President of the United States.
So tonight, I make this pledge to the great people of America. I will end the devastating inflation crisis immediately, bring down interest rates, and lower the cost of energy. We will drill, baby, drill. Can you believe what they're doing? But by doing that, we will lead a large-scale decline in prices. Prices will start to come down. Energy raised it. They took our energy policies and destroyed them. Then they immediately went back to them, but by that time, so much was lost. But we will do it at levels that nobody's ever seen before, and we'll end lots of different things. We'll start paying off debt and start lowering taxes even further. We gave you the largest tax cut. We'll do it more. You know, people don't realize I brought taxes way down, way down, and yet we took in more revenues the following year than we did when the tax rate was much higher. Most people said, how did you do that? Because it was incentive. Everybody was coming to the country. They were bringing back billions and billions of dollars into our country. The companies made it impossible to bring it back. The tax rate was too high, and the legal complications were far too great. I changed both of them, and hundreds of billions of dollars by Apple and so many other companies were brought back into our nation, and we had an economy the likes of which no nation had ever seen. China, we were beating them at levels that were incredible. And they know it. They know it. We'll do it again, but we'll do it even better. I will end the illegal immigration crisis by closing our border and finishing the wall, most of which I've already built. On the wall, we were dealing with a very difficult Congress. And I said, oh, that's okay. We won't go to Congress. I call it an invasion. We gave our military
almost $800 billion. I said, I'm going to take a little of that money because this is an invasion, and we built most of the wall is already built, and we built it through using the funds because what's better than that? We have to stop the invasion into our country that's killing hundreds of thousands of people a year. We're not going to.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It will go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers, which are in no way licensed or approved for this use. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
Well, what I want to see happen with abortion is that each state, and this is President Trump's view, to be clear, each state ought to make their own abortion laws. Okay, Wisconsin's going to have a different view than California. California's going to have a different view from Alabama. And what the president has been very clear about is he wants the voters to make those decisions in each individual state, and his government is going to focus on lowering prices for American families. His government is going to focus on closing down that southern border and stopping the flow of fentanyl and crime into our communities. And his government is going to focus on bringing peace and stability back to the world. I recognize that a lot of people don't agree with my views on abortion. A lot of people may not agree with President Trump's views on abortion. And I think that's why what the president has said makes a lot of sense. We need to let the voters of the individual states make these decisions. Now, by the way, that is not Kamala Harris's view. Kamala Harris wants to shut down Christian hospitals who don't agree with her radical agenda. Kamala Harris would like to force taxpayers to pay for late-term abortion, and I think that's despicable, certainly despicable to make taxpayers pay for it. So when Kamala Harris says that we are the extremists on abortion, she is the one that wants to force her radical abortion policy down the throats of the whole country. It's ridiculous, and I don't think the American people buy it. One more point on this, because it's so important. Look, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, believes in American families, and he wants Americans to be able to raise a family in comfort and stability. And I do think that we have become in this country, thanks to Kamala Harris's policies, anti-family. Who wants to start a family if you can't afford a home? Who wants to start a family if you can't afford groceries? Who wants to start a family if you feel like the President of the United States is not looking out for your interests? That is what Kamala Harris has done to this country. President Trump wants to give women and families choices. Let's have a pro-family country. Let's make it easier to bring new life into this world, and let's be a pro-family United States of America. That's our vision. We're going to fight for it. Thank you.
So tonight, I make this pledge to the great people of America.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.